Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Fokondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another riveting show of breaking news from our beloved country, LIB, Liberia, the land of liberty. And with me today, as usual, my partner in crime, and Mr. Jerome Gaiman, the unrepentant sedition.
That's correct.
Thanks for joining. We got a lot of little news to communicate to people, so let's get this rodeo started. And if it's piquing your interest before we get started.
Well, like I say, Liberia is the potpourri of news. What piqued my interest is this thing from Amara Kone, that Liberia is experiencing another deficit, another shortfall, budget shortfall, and he's questioning Joseph Boakai's basically thinking faculty.
Whoa! That one, let keep it here.
Yes, that's the big one.
Okay, so as we know, the Supreme Court made another landmark decision, and unfortunately, apparently the Boakai administration lost this decision. They ruled that the agency, the LTA, the Governance Commission, the Liberia Lottery Authority, and the Liberia National Identification Registry, those people who were in those tenure positions will keep their position because the action, according to the court ruling, the action of the president was not in line with the law. And those four people occupying those positions were never accorded due process. So we know that this government has been touting itself as experienced, 40 years of experience, well educated. What would you think would have contributed to the faux pas in this step, or was it just to try the law?
No, Joseph Boakai is a product of his upbringing. Joseph Boakai has been in government for over 50 years. When you go back 50 years, you're talking about the early 70s.
Talking about
During
Tubman time?
Tubman and Talbot time, because remember, he says he began as a cadet in 1966.
Yeah.
So this man has been, when we talk about the proximity, remember prior to that, he was brought in by some benevolent old families that took him to CWA.
Yes.
They say, we say self-pay. So you don't have the money, you don't have the network. We allow you to go to the school, help. I think I think he was serving either as a janitor, as a custodian, wherever they could use you, so you can pay your way. So he has been around power since the early 60s, maybe the 50s. Because if you enter high school 1966, you may have been, if you enter high school 1965, 66, you may have been in middle school, what we call junior high school, elementary school in the 50s. So living with these families and pushing him through, he has been around power. He has been around government all his life. And you know, during those days, Tubman was a dictator.
Yeah, that's correct.
You didn't say anything to Tubman. He didn't have to consult anybody. He appointed who he wanted to be senator, who he wanted to be representative, and then they just went through the something. I don't know what it was, the process, but at least he put them through something. Say this is democracy.
Right.
These are the kind of power that the likes of Joseph Boyka have always craved. So this man is looking at himself. If Tubman had that power to appoint and remove, and the president had the absolute power, he determined who lived and who died. Look what he did to the Colemans, to everybody who was his opposition. You know what he did to them. I don't have to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph Boyka sees himself now that he's occupying the seat of Tubman. He thinks he is Tubman without the realization that times have changed.
Yes.
So here you are. This man is well learned. He surrounds himself with people from the same class. The Grace Bates of the world, these are kids that grew up in the Tubman era. So they are saying, who are they? Just do what you want to do. We got absolute power.
Well, then it shows that our system is working, that the executive is no longer dictatorial, that they have to abide by due process, and that the judicial will uphold the law, even if it's in the face of the executive.
Well, don't be too fast. The judicial at this point is working. Not the judicial system now, the Supreme Court is working. Because the lower courts are the more corrupt that we know about, as evidenced by what just happened to Mr. What's his name? Mr. Lucas.
Mr. Lucas.
And prior to that, when you go last week, you saw that there were riots for land rights in the country.
Yeah.
The lower courts in the different counties are not capable of settling disputes unhindered. So the Supreme Court is our only ray of hope. The legislative body is corrupt. You can't count on them. As evidence of what Jeff Boyka just did by appointing members of the Senate committee to serve as a vetting committee. These things never happen in a democracy. It never happened. Even in the old Liberia, there was separation of power. I've never seen where the senators are supposed to vet, okay, when we talk about confirmation. Joseph Boyka was able to put all of these people on the committee to vet. And in the process, they turned around recommending the law
Look like we lost Mr. Gaiman. Are you still with us? No sound, no sound, no sound. Are you still with us, Mr. Gaiman? Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, we have a few little technical issues going on with Mr. Gaiman, and we'll welcome him back shortly as we wait for him. In the meantime, why don't you go on and come back? In the meantime, other news facing us, Liberia faces a budget deficit, according to Senator Kone. According to Senator Kone, that he announced just yesterday, that it revealed that there will be a $10.7 million deficit, and Senator Kone commented that after the budget submission, in a memo, indicated to his colleagues that the executive order was aimed to provide relief for citizens, lowering petroleum prices, but in effect, the sensitivity of the petroleum sector, was negatively affected, and as such, they notice a notable decline in revenue contributions. So taxes on some type of products are called the demand is inelastic. That is to say, no matter how much it is, you will still have the same level of demand, but not the case. So when the taxes changed on or reduced on petroleum, that led to a significant decline in revenue collected. So that's going to be something they're going to have to address, And another sector that they saw that is declining is from revenue is the telecom sector. I don't know, are people not making the same amount of calls? And that is also going to contribute to the budget deficit. So that's going to be challenging. What will probably happen, what we'll see at the end of the year, is they may have to recast the budget if they can meet, the expected revenue targets. They're going to have to recast so that they reduce the expenditures somewhat, so they will be able to meet their where the revenue is. Another thing in the news, the NEC has announced preliminary results from the just ended senatorial by-election in Nimba and the representative election in Grand Jita, respectively. And it looks as if Senator, should I say, Nyatwewang has the early lead. It appears that he's going to win. In a photo op with Prince Johnson earlier, Prince Johnson was congratulating him and was saying that he's willing to work with him in his new term. So it's really appearing that Nyatwe has won. And while in Grand Jita, Jeremiah Soka, he's in the league in Grand Jita for legislature for the for district number 1. So, hey, glad to have you back.
Yes.
Very good. So you were saying that you know, the experience of this administration, it goes back to the times where things were dictatorship.
Oh, yes.
So this experience does not apply to the current day affairs in Liberia.
No, when you look at who he surrounds himself with,
Yeah.
okay, the last time we were talking about Mr. Grisby, who is the arrowhead of his office, of his administration. Himself is 76 years old. That goes back to the Tottenham. Remember, they were schoolmates at CWA.
Yeah, that's
so,
right.
so you are talking about birds of the same fellow, of the same feather. They kind of flocking together. What is troubling, though, are the people who consider themselves at one point to have been the advocates of the people. They themselves now that were called the progressives, some of them are in power now. And sitting there and allow this to happen makes those of us that grew up in the progressive era now suspect to the regular folks. When you find a person like Larry Tupa, who from the university level, as recently as last year, were traveling all over the country, talking about President Weah, CDC was a sign of dictatorship to come, that it needed to be stopped, that Liberia needed to be restored, rescued to constitutional democracy. And we're seeing this. The Kofi Woos of the world to be security advisor, to allow the country to be at the brink of chaos.
Yeah, but
wonder.
Mr. Gaiman, while I do agree that it appears ill-advised that you would make these appointments without these tenure positions expiring, you would think the legal people would have advised to the contrary. But isn't it known that sometimes lawyers and people, they try to push the system, they try to test the law, even though we've seen precedents before?
No, I mean, if we came to that, then we would be giving them a pass. Because these are legal minds, like according to you, these are legal luminaries. The reason we put laws in place is for it to be followed.
Yeah.
You cannot be the judge, the jury, and the executioner. You cannot be the guy making the law and then trying the law at the same time. What happened to the regular people for whom the law was in place? If Joseph Weicker made this law as vice president, put it in place, and he became a beneficiary, he enjoyed it. Then now that it is not in his favor, turns around and says, now I'm going to try the same law that I wrote. Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think the best thing would have been to first repeal the law, but that would have to go through the Senate.
That's correct. And to be very frank with you, they have no intention of abolishing the law. No, that is not the intent. Because if the intent was, listen, we want to save money, the law wasn't right, what we're going to do is abolish those positions. Along with them, we don't have to deal with the law. It's done. We don't have the money, like everybody else will say. Okay. We are here. We are cutting costs. We're cutting government. These positions will be eliminated. Okay. You don't have to, he has the power to do that. He didn't have to go through no law. But for you to do that, that means you will not bring somebody else on. If you are cutting one, you can't cut one and add another one. Then you're not cutting. So this is where the word it was just a bad thing all around. But like you said, this is a new democracy. It's a new country, new group of folks. And the Supreme Court has given us a ray of hope because they are the spear, like we say, the arrowhead of law. So hopefully it will go down to the regular courts Well, the regular market woman who somebody sold land to 3 times, that person will be able to get redress legally without bribing the judge or talking to the judge.
Okay, let's move on to something else. The brilliant, astute Senator Amara Conner has been in the news lately. I think he was forecasting a budget shortfall due to declining revenues. One he blamed on the change in the taxation against petroleum. And then he says certain other key industries like the telecom industries are not performing as well. So he's hinted at a deficit already. What do you think about that?
But this is what we are talking about. Well, we are talking about the cognitive ability of the leader. Basically, what he's saying there is, who in their right mind is going to get tax breaks to corporations without doing the calculations? You get $14 million tax break, not to the people. That's the thing, the new word that Mr. Kamara brought on, they call VAT, value added tax. What that is a progressive tax, but give benefit to the owners of petroleum company. Can you imagine? Without the corresponding effect for the regular people at the pump. You gave these people the windfall of tax break. But the people who are suffering the gas prices going up.
Yeah, the everyday man.
The everyday man, the gas prices going up, and the importer get a break from the government, $14 million, and still collecting taxes from the regular folks. So he double dipping. So what he's saying there is, it's a bad public policy. Who in a right mind would do this when you know the budget is tight? There is no money coming in. Then you turn around and basically giving money away.
But wait now, we have 2 key people that's supposed to be advising on this. One is the LRA and Director General, right? And the other is the Minister of Finance, Wakai Kamara, correct? Yes. You don't think the decision, they were consulted before this decision was made?
No. Obviously, Mr. Kamara, when he was coming into this office, when he was nominated, we all call him Mr. Budget Shortfall. You could see him on the front pages of all the papers the last term when he was with Ellen. He was on the front page of Front Page Africa for $42 million shortfall.
Wow.
And President Ellen Johnson at the time said Liberia need to tie their belt, meaning that the economic situation is going to be terrible. $42 million shortfall, Mr. Kamara said. So we said that Mr. Kamara was not qualified for the job. The job was above his pay grade. And his excuse was, I've been on the job only 18 months, a year and a half. So I have inherited these things. I didn't know what was happening. So now here is Mr. Kamara back, a man who has an experience in shortfalls and deficit, and an experience in defending from that position, how uncomfortable it was. So what this tells me is that Joseph Boakai and some special interest group made this decision without consulting the guy who is actually keeping the books. Because has he consulted this man, he would have told him, it's impossible, we can't do this. If we're going to do this, we got to wait until the budget passes, and then we have the revenue, because everything is forecast. There's nothing, there's no money sitting there. So
yeah, exactly.
I want to believe that there's a lot of disjointed part of this government that have not gelled. Somebody made him to write that letter, put it in the public domain, and the finance minister has no choice but to deal with it. That's what because in all fairness to him, I don't think he is that unqualified or that stupid that he would just agree knowing
Okay.
that it's
Okay.
going to affect the government negatively.
Okay. But then what informed the chief executive's decision to make this move when it would have led to a decline in revenue? Is it intended to boost commerce and business in the communities, or why?
Well,
What led to this decision?
this is what I am telling you. When you look at when you want to see the yolk of the
Yeah.
egg, if you want to determine the yolk of the egg, you got to look at the shell. What is around this yolk that protects it?
Right.
Who is the commerce minister? The commerce minister is a businessman who owns several businesses, who come from
Right.
an investment and business class. The Lebanese, these are the
That's
folks
right.
who are actually the major investors. Who do you think has the ear of the president when it comes to we need bricks, we need here, we brought you in, we need this, we need that? Who do you think he will go to? That letter may have come directly from the commerce ministry. So that's
Now,
what it is.
I do know. Wait. Yes, I know that businesses are experiencing minimal profit. I mean, they're very, marginal profits right now, because especially hotels and businesses, because everybody has to run their generators due to the lack of city power.
Electricity. That's correct.
So so their operational costs have gone up, and they're barely making it. That's what business people tell me all the time. So do you think this tax waiver, did it help those businesses, or is only the suppliers that benefit from it?
It helped the businesses because remember, it is specific. It says petroleum importers.
Okay.
That's not a regular guy.
Right. That's not the consumers. Correct.
That's not a consumer. That's not you. That's not me. That's
So that tax, it wouldn't be passed down to the consumer?
well, if it was taxed, then it would be passed down to the consumer, but it comes in the form of profit. I don't see any business turning their profit over. You just said it, that they would turn their. I'm a Republican. Usually we say when we make profit, when we get tax break, we reinvest that money into the economy. We'll hire more people, and these people will pay more taxes, and the government will generate more taxes. That's not the case in Liberia, where the tax base is not increasing. You see, they are not new corporations. For instance, I know if you were president of Liberia, you would have told the Minister of Commerce, because he owned hotels, he owned a lot of businesses, you would have told him, listen, I gave you $10 million break or $2 million break. If you open a new factory in Bassa, if you open a new factory in Montserrat somewhere, or in Lofa, where you hire new people,
yes,
and the taxes those people pay will offset what I'm giving you.
Correct.
But
and provide jobs.
There you go. But there's nothing like that. So here we are, the folks get their profit. And what do? They take their bag of money and they leave, because there is no requirement in that letter that how to call it, the presidential declaration that he made. There were no stipulations. There were no if or ands. It was just pure money given. So this is what Mr. Kamara is talking about. Connor is talking about. How do we give away $14 million when we are at a breaking point? So now the budget that was sent to the House of Representatives is already flawed before they even consider it, because that's $620 million. The $14 million was also part of that. So you have to go back now and subtract the 14 million from the 620. So what is sent over there to the legislature is a shell. It is not a budget.
Wow. Well, they're going. we have the brains, or we're going to have to use our brains to come up with an alternate plan. But in
But
the meantime,
mhm.
our decision makers, it's up to them. You see, approving that budget is not merely saying, yeah, we agree to spend this much money. It's also to scrutinize it, to find how we can better serve the Liberian people, generate increasing revenue, at the same time growing capacity and industry within the country. They need to be part of that development. It's not, we don't want to jump them to it. So they need to be able, like what Amara Corne is doing now. He needs to weigh in on how more revenue can be generated. In as much as he's going to approve it, they also need to have some input on how it can be improved. What do you think?
Yeah, but you can only have an input from the way Mr. Connor is speaking. You can tell he was not in a know,
Hmm.
because from what he writing, if he were consulted as a former finance minister and someone who is the chair of finance and budgeting in the Senate, he would have said something to them. From his writing, one can deduce that he's outside looking in when the decision hit him hard. Yeah, he didn't see it coming. For instance, the budget has not passed. How is this government operating? We have no clue. Last week, the news broke that the Waika government had given out $22 million contract in rural rehabilitation without the passage of the budget, without the PPCC order, without scrutiny, without bid. Okay? So here we are. Who operates like this? You don't have a budget. The budget have not passed. You don't have the money. You didn't go through the bidding process. You didn't go through the PPCC process. You didn't put the contract off a bid. Who did you get this contract to? How do you give
Hmm.
it to them? What qualifies them? There was no scrutiny.
Hmm.
So when these people are touting themselves a law and order, this takes me back to the dictatorial days. You don't need no PPCC. You don't need no bidding process. I know who I want. I know my Lebanese friends will do the work. They helped me get to where I am. Just gave them the contract and let them do it. Nothing. The total breakdown of the rule of law.
Wow. Well. We hope when the dust settles, these things will start getting steered in the right direction. In the meantime, we're still electing. We got two election results partially. It looks like the Nima Senator Nya is going to be, and in Grand Jita Soka
Mhm.
is the representative that is in the lead. That according to reported so far by the NEC.
Yes. And the two elections you were talking about, they are very significant symbolically,
Hmm.
but they carry a lot of weight and they sense a lot of.
My man, what happened in Miami, man? We lost your voice again. Ladies and gentlemen, we're having some technical difficulties with our audio from Miami. My co-host here, Jerome Gaiman, he's in Florida, Miami, Florida, and something seems to be amiss with his facilities. I can't tell exactly what's going on, but in another news, um, Jeremiah Soka of Grand Jide District 1, is in the lead and is poised to win that election. And senatorial candidate Nya Toyen, he is also projected to win as he stands in the lead now. So it's pretty interesting because there were two people in the forerunners. One supported by the Unity Party, and the other one was allegedly supported by Senator Prince Johnson. And you know, Senator Prince Johnson, he's the kingmaker, been touted as the kingmaker for president and has a lot of affluence in Nimba. Now, for some reason, for some rather, you know, things that have been passing since the election of this administration, there's been some little bit of rift between Senator Prince Johnson and the Unity Party. So this rift has culminated in Prince Johnson supporting the other guy. And so it was interesting to see how it would turn out. Welcome back, Mr. Gamer.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm switching to another device because they keep calling me on this line.
Okay.
Yes, that particular those two elections they carry a lot of weight, and I said they're very symbolic in nature. One, let's go to Nimba County. For the first time, we are going to have a gentleman from the Man ethnic group.
Mano or Mano?
Man, yeah, that's the Mano people, Man.
Okay.
And the Dan, which is the Gil people. That is the group that have been dominating since J.J. Robert because of Prince Johnson. So for the first time, people decided that there would be some semblance of political and geographical balance in the county. So they went against their own godfather called Prince Johnson. Prince Johnson had nominated, you know, he flip-flopped. He supported Mr. Toyen, whatever they pronounce that, and hopefully I'm getting it right.
Toyen
was supposed to be his candidate. But after they split with Joseph Boyka and the Unity Party, he decided to go and support another candidate.
Yeah.
Now, the people did not go with him this time. They decided to do what they felt was a moral obligation of the Nimba people to diversify the leadership.
Yeah.
So they went against the will and pleasure of Senator Johnson. And from what I'm reading from the National Elections Commission, they're going about 86% they have done 86% of the counting. And one thing you need to notice was that they had a very low turnout. Very low turnout.
That's true. By-elections are usually low.
Yeah, yes. Not only that, but the election fatigue. There was a lot of energy that went into Prince Johnson going all out to make sure that Boyka wins Nimba. It took a lot of energy. When you look at Nimba, the entire Nimba that has about 308,000 registered voters or 308,000 residents. And from what I saw, the winning candidate has about 19,000 votes. In Nimba, or
So
senatorial.
they try to balance it, have one Mana and one Gil
That's correct.
representative.
And something that you need to look at, the man who is now to be the heir apparent.
Yeah,
Look at the political dynamics.
yeah.
They are pushing Prince Johnson out of the way now. The man who is now going to be the new godfather of Nima County is Jeremiah Kwankun.
Aha.
Jeremiah Kwankun did his work to the point where he didn't even have to be there. He didn't even show up for the voting because
He
he
didn't
knew he had
even
this.
vote. I understand report. He didn't even vote.
The man knew he had this thing in the bag. He campaigned. He had his machinery well oiled, told the folk what to do. He didn't have to be there. And he got the desired result because his candidate won with a landslide. So you see, Prince Johnson, the political pressure and the heat. I don't know whether there is a comeback after this for Prince Johnson. Because 2029, Prince Johnson will never be senator for Nima County. It is written. It is on the
Never
wall.
say
It's
never.
written.
I saw a photo op just after the election with Prince Johnson congratulating Nia Twain and saying that don't mind the politics, the tribal politics they try to play. We'll work together and build Nima County. So Prince Johnson is already, very adept in changing his political sail. And now
Well,
he's sailing in another direction already.
no, he has no choice. It's that white guy going and putting out the frivolous letter congratulating the Supreme Court. He acknowledges that the Supreme Court is the highest and the final arbiter of law, and he's a rule of law person, and he will abide by what the Supreme Court says. What other choice does he have? There's no other way. There's no other place to go beyond the Supreme Court. So he taught his own horn that he's a law and order person. Makes no sense. So here we are. The baton have been passed. In fact, it wasn't passed. The baton was, when we talk about a shrewd politician, that's Jeremiah Kwankun. He had no friction with Prince Johnson. He had no issue with Prince Johnson. He told Prince Johnson, just take me, push me to become the vice president of the country. Since Nima need a presidency or Nima need to be president, put me in the forefront, and
Right.
I got you.
But listen, this is why I say President Prince Johnson is very agile when it comes to political gymnastics. Prince Johnson did not support Jeremiah Kuhn when he was running. Oh, are we losing the man? Are you there, Mr. Gaiman? Are you there? Well, we're going to have some struggles today with the audio from Miami, Florida. Miami, are you there? Are you there? Miami. Well, anyway, like I was saying, ladies and gentlemen, it is known that he did not support initially when Senator Kuhn was running for the seat. Senator Prince Johnson was supporting another candidate. And after his successful run, after Kuhn's success, and when he won it, Prince Johnson came up again, dynamically, saying that that's my son. That's one of my people, so it's not bad. So we can see that he plays ball with what's going on. I would love to hear from the Nima people, though. I see Dwara Luogon. He's made a comment here. He said, we the Nimbans, we the Nimbans did not go against PYJ. We elected someone to balance the power. We are not divided. PYJ, JKK are Nimbans and one of the best. So that is good. That is good. That is the fact that they're trying to balance the power to make it, and that is understandable. It's healthy. Now they have representation from both, Guios, Manos, and all. And I've seen even Mandingos are being represented. Musa Belete is one of the representatives that were elected the other day. And this isn't this what we want? We want everybody to be represented in government. So this shows maturity, and I appreciate the Nima people. I appreciate y'all from showing your political maturity and not marginalizing anyone based on ethnic orientation or descent. This is how Liberia should be. So it looks like our show is going to come to a little bit of an abrupt end because Mr. Gamer has left the scene. But we can be sure that we will be following up with the conclusion of these elections. We will be following up with what's going to happen now that the tenure positions are not up for grabs. What will be the decision? And also, interesting in the news, we know that the chief executive, President Barkai, went to Ivory Coast to lobby for more power supply from the consortium. And unfortunately, news is coming in that they will cut it from the 25 megs to 10. What led to that is not understand. Is not, but that will be a strain on the system because, as you know already, where the city supply of electricity is short, and we rely on the consortium to meet us halfway. And now we're going down. This is something that's going to affect businesses and industries. So we will try to invite someone here to discuss this matter. What are we going to do? We already need more power in the country. There's already multiple outages. And your humble servant here, that was my job once upon a time. We reran the transmission distribution department under who was it? Joe was there. Numa Elliott, Buzzwick, Zizé, and we ran there, and it wasn't as bad as it is today. We see way more outages than we are today, but the demand has increased. We have more people now than we did back in those years. I'm talking about 88, 89, 90 before the war. So as the population grows, we have to increase demand. And even with the new hydro turbines at Mount Coffee, it's still not adequate. We had a better plan. We were supposed to build dams further upstream, further up the Symposium, and gradually, we call it cascading. We're supposed to have cascading dams and turbines along the river, and not only depending on Mount Coffee, because at Mount Coffee, that's where the St. Paul is ready to enter into the ocean. So what you do is you build dams further up the river so you can tap you can start tapping it up there. You got several dams, so you can get a couple of megs, maybe 50 megs from the first one, another 50 megs from the second one. Then down here you get 100 and you get 88 megs. That's an example. So by the time we add it all up, you have enough for the country. But that wasn't done. And now we find ourselves in a quagmire. Mr. Gaiman.
Yes.
You want to complete so we can, we'll just talk about power.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I'm on a different device now, so.
Is that what you said the last time?
Yeah, I was using my phone, and the people just kept calling, but I'm back on my laptop.
Anyway,
I was talking about the political dynamics in Nimba. So here we are. Jeremiah Kun has positioned himself now that Prince Johnson is between a rock and a hard place, between the American sanction with the War and Economic Crime Court and everything that's going. He is losing his authority and power on Nimba. And here we are, Jeremiah Kun quietly went into the place. Now he's strategically putting his men and women in different places. Remember he has the proximity to power. He's the vice president. So now he can tell the president where and who he wants in which places. So Prince Johnson now has become an afterthought. You hear what he keeps saying that, listen, I didn't expect Waika to do me this way. I'm regretting because the power dynamic has shifted.
Yes, that is true.
So Prince Johnson is now an afterthought in Nimba.
I agree with you. And I was saying just before you left, even when Senator Kun was contesting for that seat, Prince Johnson wasn't supporting him. He was supporting another candidate.
That's correct.
And but Prince Johnson, he moved over. He said, "I'm my son. It doesn't, it's not bad. You know how he talks. He said, not bad. I'm a son. We can stay working.
But and now let's switch to Grand Jide. The elections in Grand Jide, the young man who is winning now, was a man that lost to Gwion, the guy who just passed. And everybody knew who he was, but because of the political dynamics at the time, he lost the election.
Right.
He didn't cause any uproar. He didn't do anything to damage his political capital. Now he came back, and now here he is. Grand Jide is now, this seat belongs to him. And as you can see, he is far ahead in the race, and he's going to be the representative coming to Monrovia to represent his people.
Yeah.
So you see how things. They said the rock that was thrown comes back to become the cornerstone of the building.
Oh yeah.
This is what's happening. These two men were outcast. And their political fortune had risen to the point where both of those who were disposed of, they are coming back now to become pillows of the different counties. So you see the dynamics of politics in Liberia, what's going on. And for some reason, the two sisterly counties, Grand Jide and Nimba, for some reason, they are so intertwined. Whether you like it or not, they are cousins. There are more people from Nimba in Grand Jide. There are a lot of folks from Grand Jide in Nimba. They're marrying each other.
Terramycin. They can call it terramycin.
You got everything. So no matter what the politicians do, these two people are intertwined.
Yes.
And it so happens that politics have fallen the exact way we are talking about. There is a gentleman who are outcast in Grand Jide who didn't do anything to damage himself, is coming back now to Montserrat as a representative from his people. The same thing happened in Nimba. A young man who didn't do anything to harm himself when he lost the election. He didn't go out there cursing and causing problems. He waited his turn, and the man to whom he lost came And today they are now partners. And not only partners, but partners against Prince Johnson, who was against him, then flipped. And like, I was for him before I was against him. You see, that's what it is. So that's what now you were talking about power.
Yeah.
You and I know everything that we talk about, there will be no economic growth if we don't have power.
Correct.
Nothing you can do in the country. You, Mr. Eastman, Mr. Gamer, we go to Liberia. We got our little $1,000 spare change to have fun with our families, our nephews, and our cousins. Then we have to take that 1,000 instead of taking the kids to the ice cream shop, putting the money into the local economy, going to the movies, going to the park. We buying gas for our generators. So the economy cannot grow without power. With electricity, the market woman can sell her little goods from 6 in the morning to 10 at night or 11 at night, nightclub, nightlife. Everything is dependent on power. They talk about tourism. What tourist is going to come to Liberia or go to your site when there's no power? There are two major things that tourism needs: infrastructure and power.
I mean, look, it's untold how significant power, electricity is for development. It is unbelievable that with our increasing demand, we find Fixed Electronics is commenting we went from 50 megawatts that we were getting from the consortium to 25, now to 10. I believe, coming from the industry, I know it may be, the cause of it may be about paying debts. When you fail to pay debts, you waiver your credit worthiness. And so maybe this is why it is being reduced, because these people are not going to just be producing and feeling sorry for you every time you don't pay. Even the Lebanese man, when you go borrow Lebanese man, maybe he give you that first bag of rice. But when you pay that bag of rice, you come back and you say you want one more bag. He will say, well, no, you didn't pay me the first one. I can only give you maybe quarter bag, because you have to show that you are capable of paying. Now, what needs to happen with this industry? Because it should be able to pay for itself, but it needs to get government off. And that's why they talk about privatizing. Government involvement in that industry is one of the reasons why it's ill performing. You know, whenever the public sector, whenever you have state-owned enterprises, they don't tend to be as competitive, as functionally run as private enterprises, because private enterprises, they are very profit-oriented. They know very well if they do not break even or make a profit, they're going under. Whereas a state-owned enterprise like LEC, you see, it's being subsidized. They're supposed to be making enough money to keep themselves up, but every year, the government has to supply them. The same thing is similar to LTC. Whenever you have state-owned enterprises, they always have the what we call soft regimentation. It is not rigid. Business requires rigid regimentation. I mean, profits, you cannot afford to lose or you would not have a business. But we're not running LTC, LEC like that. And that mindset has to be changed, because it is essential for the country.
Look, Mr. Eastman, the foundation of Liberia is rotten, period. We need a radical change in the way we do business. Let me just give you an example. When I served as executive vice president for the Chamber of Commerce, one of my portfolio was to go and solicit corporations from around the country to come to Florida, come to our county in particular. And one of the 5 questions that I have always asked that I had to answer was, from all the corporations, do you have public utility?
Yeah. Yes, of course.
If you cannot answer that question, they won't even allow you in the room. Public
Yeah.
utility includes roads, water, switch, electricity,
Yes.
internet, and then they ask you, the next one is, do you have a viable public school, public education? For if we move our 500 employees to your county, do you have quality school to accommodate my people? And the answer should be yes. Now let's look at Liberia. Liberia can never answer that question. So what happens? You have corporations coming into Liberia and setting up fiefdom. That is, they set up a country within the country. Look at Lamco. When Lamco came to Liberia, they set up, it was a country built within the country. They built their own roads, their own sewage system. They build their own electrical system. They build their own security system. They build everything within the government, within the country.
Right.
If the Republic of Liberia had the power to say, you know what, instead of spending $25–40 million annually on power generated by Lamco itself, we are going to provide the electricity, the power, and you can give us that $25–50 million into our budget annually. The same thing with LOC in Grand Bassa County. They spend about $10–15 million annually on power generation. That money should have been going to Liberia, the Republic. Now we got Metal Steel. Metal Steel had to come and build their own power generation unit. That billions of dollars.
And let me tell you, that works in our disadvantage.
Of course.
Because
look at Firestone. For 100 years, Firestone have been over there. They are producing. It's a country within the country. So
yeah, but we did it.
That's what I'm saying.
If we had enough power, they wouldn't be doing it. Hydropower is the cheapest to produce. Way cheaper than thermal or even solar. Okay? And beside that, it's renewable. It's water. It comes every year. It's a form of new renewable energy. But we never built up our capacity. When those concessions were coming to Liberia, that was an opportunity to go to the World Bank and say, look, Lamco is going to buy X millions of kilowatts from us. Beaumont is going to buy X kilowatts from us. Firestone is going to buy X amount of kilowatts from us. We need to build a big dam.
LPMC.
Exactly. That was an opportunity.
NIOC in Mano River.
Yes.
LPMC in Bomi. We talk about mega corporation that will bring billions into our system.
Right. That's how it should have. That was the opportunity. But we've been missing opportunities, and now we at a point, right, that the industries are lagging because we don't even have enough power to supply the industries. And it's getting deeper and deeper. And I see the political appointing. I don't see any changes. According to Joseph Boulette, he said the players in government now can do nothing to save the country.
Right.
We definitely need a change in the right direction.
We need a structural change. The structure we have now, which is the foundation, is terrible. I was listening to Julia Malema the other day. He said, how can you elect an 80-year-old man to tell you he will lead you into your future? He is not part of the future. How can you tell someone who is not going to be part of the future to give you a future? He can only see himself.
No, but here's what he can do. We call it staging. He can set the foundation, start putting together the team that will map out a comprehensive plan for every industry in every facet of the Liberian economy. Once we come up with a blueprint and say, yeah, your blueprint, y'all go do it now. At least he could do that.
Mr. Eastman, for you, I had a friend, may his soul rest in peace, Mr. Gaga. Mr. Gaga was at, I think he was at Telecom, or he was one of the old guys who did computer back then, way back. And I think it was 1983 or 85, around there. They had told them that they were not using COBOL anymore.
Okay.
They were transitioning into new, and everybody needed to be retrained. And our whole generation said, you know what? We ain't going to do it. We have been using this method. We were trained. We got our degree in it from the 50s. We would just quit. And at least he was honest to say, at this age in my life and in my career, I cannot go back to school to learn all of these things. I cannot either be a consultant, but I have to leave the scene, let the new people come. These group of folks that Joseph Boyka brought along are people who didn't come here. They had no vision. What vision, what blueprint can grace be put in place for the office of the president? A man who is himself in his late 70s. What can Kofi Wu put in place? What can just look around?
Yeah, but
look at economic. Who in the world, in these United States, in developed countries, economic advisor, I think of from Wall Street, from Yale, from Harvard, from Cornell, people who have been into the industry for years with PhDs, with research degrees. That's their job. Who did President Boyka make economic advisor? Mandela Cooper. You tell me, what job, what experience, what university, what research, what institution has she run to run an entire nation's economic system to advise the president on economic affairs? Tell me, how do these people write a blueprint? That group you're talking about right there. Mandela, besides being a model and all of that, what institution has she run? What research has she done? What institution is she established with when it comes to advising the nation on economic affairs? So you see where we are talking about, and it's the same thing that's been happening. And the Supreme Court keep telling this man, you did your asset recovery. You set this thing up. You brought a couple of lawyers. You put them there. They did the wrong thing. The court told them, no, go back to status quo ante and begin all over. You hired your legal advisor, Mr. Keita something, Bambuju, whatever his name is. He came over there on national TV, made a complete fool of himself. He says the article of the Constitution says that the president has the absolute appointing power. He can do whatever he wants. Those people would never return to those jobs. This is a man that says he's a lawyer. He practices before the Supreme Court, only to be told that, listen, sir, your procedural error need to be addressed. We are not touching the appointing power. That's not our thing. There's a procedure. There's a way that you use that power to affect change.
yeah,
And he didn't do that. So they keep losing all these cases. Where are we going?
well, definitely somebody needs to be the wiser. Maybe Joe Boyka Jr. need to step up and make an impact on, because some of the decisions that are being made are not looking too good.
Now,
Especially,
Mr. Eastman, if you wanted to try the law, if I were in Liberia, to play devil's advocate, I could take the government to court for violating the PPCC law by giving contract without due process, without going. And you can see at the rate they are going, they're going to lose. Anybody who takes this government to court going to win again.
Yeah, in fact, it's right now. It's in the Senate. I think that this issue you're mentioning is in the Senate right now, championed by no other than Nathaniel McGill.
Nathaniel McGill. And here we are. The jobs have begun. The job is ongoing. You saw the guys were posting pictures that they got a yellow machine going. They don't care what Aliu Kamara said it, and then Mr. Sharif on our show said it. Too much bureaucracy in the system. Joseph Boyka need to be given the free will to do whatever he wants to do. That's why we bypassing it. This is a man who were on our show talking about the constitutionality of everything that a country built that is not built on rule and order and law is bound to fail. Today he flip-flop and say there's too much bureaucracy. Why he want to build roads? Why you have to go through PPCC? Why you have to go through bidding process? Why you have to put it out for bid? We just go ahead and do it. Can you imagine? So we have a country, the young folks that's supposed to be the heir apparent of the next generation. They are saying, to hell with the rule of law. Just do whatever you want to do as long as you do it. No accountability, nothing of that kind.
Somebody, Mr. Henry Quay is asking, is Ms. Cooper an economic advisor or political advisor?
Well, you tell me if she's political or economic advisor. And the last time I checked, she was economic advisor. Even if she's political advisor, okay, let's take out the economic advisor. Let's do the political advisor thing. Mr. Eastman,
okay,
if you were a political advisor to the president, the objective of political advisor is to be a tactician, to make sure that the president does not make mistakes that will hurt him politically. And that includes all of these things we are talking about. In fact, economic advisor is a smaller, well-defined prescription compared to political, which is the entire gamut. So what politics, what political positions you have ever held, what administrative positions you've ever held, what policies she has ever written, what policies she has ever implemented, to be given political advisor. I see if she was sent to gender ministry because she had been an advocate for women and children, maybe in that light, but political advisor is one of the biggest positions in the government.
She is a senior political advisor to the president.
Okay, senior political advisor. Let's say senior political advisor to the president. Yes. If you are the senior advisor to senior political advisor, senior, you are the top of the food chain here. So, Mr. Henry Quay, tell me, what are these positions, these decisions that are being made, all these defeats, all the black eye the president is getting? Isn't a political advisor even more responsible then?
Yeah.
There you go. So, my own brother, I won't say brother, friend, someone we have read about, Kofi Woods. Kofi Woods know that this country is, the country is tense. He is security advisor, from what I understand. Hopefully you can double check that.
Yes, he is. I know he is a security advisor.
If he's national security advisor to the country, and the country is going through turmoil, people being laid off, people with guns in the streets, people are being laid off without the procedure. There are processes, like you say, if you're going to fire somebody, you're going to lay them off. There are processes, there are procedures how you do these things. You can't just come to work one morning and tell you, say, we don't need you anymore. That's not how it works.
Anyway, you know what? You know what, Mr. Gimmer? I'm going to say it's a bumpy start. I'm going to give them that. It's a bumpy start. You know, it's one thing being experienced sitting in the passenger seat, but when you're in the driver's seat, it's a whole new experience.
Well, this driver has been on his job since
he was 12 years. Long. Remember now, he was
12 years. He was vice president. Prior to that, he was director. He was CEO. He was everything. He being government. He was at how do you call the place? He was at LPMC. He was the leader there. Yeah, I mean, he's everywhere. So I can't. And secondly, they said they had been government in waiting for 6 years when they were in opposition. We used to hear that word, government in waiting, government in waiting, government in waiting. So 6 years of planning, and you say we should get them. The man even told you he was so prepared that in 90 days he tell you what he was going to do.
All right.
What the former defense minister Rumsfeld, he said you can train the best Marines, you can train the best Navy, you can train the best Navy Sea. When you put them in the theater, when that first gunshot, when somebody shoots at them, is when you know whether they are prepared. Some would drop their gun and run.
Yeah. Anyway, next week,
Yes.
I'm going to be leaving you up to the show. I will be sailing over to Jamaica.
Okay.
But we got some interesting topics for next week as well.
Listen, it would behoove you if you can find a good spot just for 1 hour where you are in Jamaica.
I will try to do it.
I would be here, but it would be great to hear Mr. Jimmy Eastman saying, this is Focus on Liberia's blank, 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 and I'm calling you or I'm tapping in from Montego Bay.
Okay, I'm gonna do that. I will take my laptop just for that.
Yes,
so we can
even a few minutes, just do it.
Okay, I will do it.
We want to expand our horizon, but thank you very much for allowing me on your show.
Thank you again for joining. Great ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week, Tuesday, same time, 1 o'clock Eastern, for another breaking news report. Until then, we leave you with our theme song. We are very proud Liberians.
We are Liberians.